Google Search just replaced its 10 blue links with an AI answer, but writing original text requires vastly more computing power than retrieving websites. So how do they afford this for 8.5 billion daily searches? Let's track an everyday query for a chocolate chip cookie recipe hitting their servers. Instead of just ranking links, the system must now read them and write a custom summary. If it routed this simple recipe to their massive flagship model, Gemini Pro, the heavy reasoning required would instantly crash the system's economics at global scale. So the pipeline bypasses the heavyweight AI entirely. It routes the recipe to a structurally strict down engine built just for speed and cheap processing, a highly efficient model called Gemini Flash. This lightweight block instantly outputs the summary, embedding those old blue links as citations. By making this invisible switch, Google just executed the largest AI deployment in human history. And it works because the answers you read every day are written by their fastest AI, not their smartest.
Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I'm absolutely pumped you're tuning in today, because we really need to talk about a literal paradigm shift in internet history. I mean, something massive just happened right under our noses, completely changing how we all interact with information online. We are officially standing at the dawn of the AI search era. And by the end of this Explainer, you're going to know exactly what just shifted, and more importantly, how to navigate it.
So 8.5 billion. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many people rely on Google Search every single day. And on July 10th, 2026, those 8.5 billion daily users woke up to find their main information tool totally transformed. The most used website on the planet effectively became an AI product overnight. And honestly, the craziest part of all this, most people didn't even notice.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the search that changed.
Think about how we've all searched the web for the last 30 years. It's always followed the exact same pattern, right? You type in a question, you get a ranked list of links, and you click through to read. Well, you can say goodbye to the 10 blue links, because that model's completely gone. The new default is an AI-written summary with inline citations. Google isn't just ranking outside pages for you anymore. The AI is actually writing out the answer for you. Now, the original links still exist, sure, but they're embedded as tiny citations inside the AI's response instead of sitting neatly below it. And this isn't some beta test or, fun little opt-in experiment. This is the permanent new default reality for every single search user on Earth. The fundamental relationship between a question and an answer on the internet has completely changed.
Now you might be wondering, what kind of tech is actually pulling this off? Enter Gemini 3.5 Flash. A lot of people asked why Google didn't just use its absolute top-tier models for this, like Gemini Pro or Ultra. Well, it comes down to pure economics. Gemini 3.5 Flash is highly optimized for maximum speed and cost efficiency on a global scale. If Google tried running a massive frontier model at full reasoning depth on all 8.5 billion daily searches, well, they would literally break the system. It would just be computationally and financially impossible. So Gemini 3.5 Flash gives them this perfect Goldilocks zone. It's cheap and fast enough to run on every single query, but still smart enough to handle everyday searches.
Which brings us to Section 2, Google's masterstroke. So while the entire tech world has been hyper-fixated on the chatbot race and getting people to download new apps, Google was quietly looking at its massive 90% share of the global search market. They realized they didn't need to convince anyone to download a new app. They didn't have to break anyone's daily habits. Instead, Google just leveraged its absolute dominance to force instant global AI adoption. They literally flipped a switch and upgraded billions of users at once. That's a built-in advantage no standalone chatbot could ever even dream of matching.
And that leads us to the core takeaway here. Google didn't win the chatbot race. It turned the search race into an AI race. Think about it. OpenAI and Anthropic are out there fighting in the trenches, right? Scrapping to win over users one by one. Google just completely bypassed that battlefield. They turned their massive distribution pipeline into an overnight, inescapable AI rollout. It really is a brilliant redefinition of the entire playing field. But while Google was quietly executing this masterstroke, utter chaos was unfolding everywhere else. Let's look at Section 3, the week everything broke. Literally the very next day after Google's big shift, July 11th, Apple drops an absolute legal bombshell. They filed a lawsuit against OpenAI in Northern California. And man, the details here are stunning.
Apple is alleging a systematic poaching of over 400 of their engineers, specifically targeting their silicon, on-device AI, and hardware design teams. On top of that, Apple claims these engineers were directed to bring confidential documents about unreleased iPhones and Apple Watches straight into their job interviews at OpenAI. Oh, and the cherry on top? This lawsuit was perfectly timed just weeks before OpenAI's massive, highly anticipated IPO.
And that IPO timing, it is incredibly sensitive. OpenAI has been prepping a confidential filing with Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, aiming for an eye-watering $730 billion valuation. But there's a huge catch right now. Their biggest rival, Anthropic, is projected to pull in roughly $47 billion in annualized revenue. That completely eclipses OpenAI's projected $25 to $33 billion. So for their IPO, OpenAI is going to have to publish audited financials for the very first time, openly showing they are being out-earned by Anthropic, all while actively fighting what's shaping up to be the most heavily scrutinized tech lawsuit in recent memory.
But wait, the pressure on OpenAI doesn't stop there. Because on July 17th, Google's heavyweight model, Gemini 3.5 Pro, is launching. This is the delayed but highly anticipated model built to go toe-to-toe with GPT 5.5 and Claude Sonnet 5. And it is a beast. It boasts a 2 million token context window, which is the biggest in production right now, and it scored an 82.4% on the GPQA Diamond benchmark. Basically, that means it is currently beating competitors in hardcore complex science reasoning.
And here's where it gets absolutely wild: the pricing. This is going to cause some serious market disruption. If we look at the cost per 1 million input tokens, Gemini 3.5 Pro comes in at just $1.25. Claude Sonnet 5 sits at $2, and GPT 5.5 is at $2.50. So Google is launching this beast at exactly half the price of OpenAI's equivalent. It immediately makes it the absolute cheapest Western frontier model available, which completely upends the economics for enterprise developers everywhere.
Now, to really wrap our heads around the massive scale of these AI wars, we have to look at the physical hardware powering the whole thing. Take SK Hynix, for example. They're a Korean chipmaker that owns roughly 60% of the global AI memory market. All these models we're talking about, they completely rely on their specialized high-bandwidth memory. On the exact same day Google changed search, SK Hynix made its NASDAQ debut, and was a historic financial signal. The offering was 7 times oversubscribed, raising up to $29 billion, the biggest ADR listing in U.S. history, pushing their market cap to a staggering $1.27 trillion. The financial markets are basically grabbing a megaphone and shouting that AI infrastructure is the trade of the decade.
Okay, let's bring this all down to earth in Section 4, What to Do Today.
So what does this all mean for you? Here are 3 actionable steps you need to take right now to protect your workflows. First, just go experience the new AI search default. Search for something today and really pay attention to how the results are delivered so you understand the new baseline. Second, if you run a business or a website, you've got to adapt your strategy right now. AI citation placement is the new SEO. Fighting for a link at the bottom of the page, that's old news. You need your data cited inside the AI summary. And third, if you're a decision maker buying AI tools for your team, just hold off for a few days. Wait until July 17th. Once Gemini 3.5 Pro drops at $1.25 per million tokens, the entire pricing landscape is going to shift. Do not lock yourself into a pricey contract today.
Just take a step back and look at the sheer madness of the last 8 weeks in tech. We've literally seen governments banning AI outright, an AI system figuring out how to hack itself into a computer, major American corporations getting caught secretly using Chinese models, and now, the most foundational tool on the internet, the default search engine, becoming an AI itself. The pace of change isn't slowing down anytime soon. Honestly, it's speeding up.
So I'm going to leave you with this to think about. Will your workflow adapt to the AI search era, or are you still relying on 10 blue links that simply don't exist anymore? Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.